Hey guys, Sarek here, and yesterday I went to a regionals at my local game shop, and I took Dogmatika-Invoked, and I ended up going 3-3, which I was generally fairly okay with, because I hadn't done much practice with the deck. I decided very last minute what I was going to play, so we'll do a quick run through of the deck, and then we'll talk about my matchups and what happened. So, I'm not going to explain what the cards do. The cards are all fairly standard, self-explanatory. We have 3 Alistair, Search's Invocation. Very, very standard. We have our Dogmatika package. We have 2 Ecclesia, 1 Fleur, 1 Maximus. The main thing with this deck is remembering the sequencing. Dogmatika has to be the last things you do. And be careful with Maximus's effect, because if you activate it against the wrong people, wrong decks, you will end up having your opponent send an Entis or something and blowing out your board. Hand traps, we had 3 Veiler, 3 Ash, and 3 Nib. I wouldn't really complain about the hand trap lineup. It was solid all the way through. Nib was very, very good. Veiler was always useful, and Ash I did not see very often. Then we have our Destiny Hero package. We are playing DPE in this deck, and DPE is insane, and these are the best 2. Three Meltdown. Makes your fusions unrespondable. Searches Alistair, which searches Invocation. Very, very good card. One game I bricked because I drew all 3 Meltdowns in my opening hand. Two Invocation, you only need 2 because you've got so many ways of getting to it, and it recycles itself. Again, wouldn't change much about that there. 3 Nadir Servant, again, very, very good card, just remember to use it last. Three Fusion Destiny, this is the big play of the deck. DPE is absolutely insane, and Fusion Destiny just makes going into it so easily. And the deck is absolutely cracked. 3 Prosperity. Most of the time I found I was just banishing 3 off this, not 6. Other than that, very, very useful. Just remember, you cannot use Celestial's effect if you've Prosperity'd, because I caught myself out with that once. But yes, your extra deck is very, very flexible, and generally you have so many starters or 1-card pieces of interaction that you're usually fine with just digging 3. And also, I found when you only banish 3, your opponent's less likely to hand trap you. 1 Terraforming, again, searches Meltdown, helps bait Ash, but sometimes you Terraforming and then you get drolled, and then you're sad because you already had the Alistair in hand anyway. 1 Called by the Grave, this card is ridiculous. When you get drolled, when you get Lanciered, unless you activate it in an Imperm column, like I did. 3 Imperm. Imperm is fantastic. Stops things that obviously like to chain block themselves, like Fluanderies players, and is just very, very good going both first and second. Then for our one-offs, we have 1 Punishment as a search target. Just remember, again, locks you out the extra deck for your next turn afterwards as well. 1 Schism, because it makes Winder, and Winder is really good. And then finally, 1 Imperial Order, because winning the game is fun, but I never actually saw this. So that's the main deck. Very, very quick run through there. And then for our extra deck, we have 2 copies of Mechaba. Again, really, really good card. Really, really solid card. 2 is fine. You don't need the 3rd. 1 Purgatrio, this is in there, it's just another invoked name, it's easy to make because everyone's playing Ash, you always have an Almirage Engrave, and it helps end games. Oneogoides, this does come up. It really, really helps with answering DPE because it forces them to DPE as soon as it comes back. It's very, very good. Also helps you hit OTKs at certain points. And you can also DPE out of your opponent's grave if you need to as well. One Titaniclad, this is obviously solely in here as a nadir or punishment target. 2 Entus, because destroying 2 cards on the field is really, really good. You know what Entus does by now. 1 App Cologne, because searching Schism to make Winder is fun. 1 Winder, because locking the opponent out of the game is also fun, and some people can't out-Winder, or at least they're forced to imperm your Winder. And then they haven't impermed something else. 1 Construct, because sometimes you don't have a Dark engrave for Winder, and also Schism is continuous, so you can make Construct on the next turn, and Construct has text on it. So it can really help in destroying some problematic monsters. DPE is absolutely insane. DPE board stalls is some of the most difficult and, mind-bending gameplay that I've experienced. Obviously remembering to call all your triggers, keeping track of the attack, and the fact that it doesn't target. It's absolutely insane card. And it's one of the things that makes the deck so good. 1 Verte, because it sends Fusion Destiny. Almirage and Secure Gardener as our light and our fire targets for Alistair. And then Omega, so I was running Gamma in the side. I never made Omega because I never Gammaed on my own turn. In theory it's good, in practice it probably should have been Invoked Caliga as another target to get DPE out of people's graves, because I often found I'd used Diogoidis and there was a DPE locking up the game that I needed to get out of their grave. So that's the main and extra deck. And for the side, we have Gamma Package. Incredible, loved this. It was so strong. Would definitely run this again. 1 Pancratops, I never saw it, but in theory it comes up. It's obviously a very good card. 3 copies of Summon Limit, which was the best side deck card in my side. Obviously really helps locking up the game. So many game decks can't play through Summon Limit. Unfortunately, no one saw Harpies against me. 3 Droll. Droll is very good. This deck loses to Droll, but also really likes playing Droll. Yeah, again, very good card. Didn't come up all that often because I didn't draw it. Then we have our anti-Backrow package, Red Reboot, Cosmic, Harpy's Feather Duster. None of these actually came up. I don't think I sided them in at all because I didn't face any Backrow decks. But if I had faced a Geist or a Guro player, then I'm sure it would have been a thing. So that is the deck and the side. For matchups, round 1 I played against Phantom Knights, and I went 2-1. Every single round of mine, bar 1, was a 2-1 or a 1-2. One game 1 locked up the game with Mechaba, had an impermanent punishment stat, and he'd bricked and scooped. Game 2, I misplayed horrifically, forgetting to use things like Entis effects and so on, and lost that game. And then game 3, he bricked, and I locked him up with Winder and Summer Limit, and he could not break that. Then round 2, I played against Cyber Dragons. I won game 1 very easily by stopping his Cyber Dragon Infinity, and he'd had no follow-up after that. Then game 2 and 3 were much grindier, much longer, but they both ended with me getting Dragooned both times, and I have very limited outs to Dragoon in this deck. Match 3 was against Swordsoul. This was 2 incredibly grindy DPE games. with each of us taking a win in one. And then finally getting to time, and of course Swordsoul has a burn effect in time, in the main deck, so they tend to win in time. Next round after that was against Fluonderies, which was a swift 2-0, because I just played too much interruption for that deck to handle, and can obviously very easily deal with all the effects activating on field. And I can even deal with the chain blocking ones, because I run Imperm and Veiler. And it's just very, very easy, and I don't care about Dimension Shifter. And as long as you don't activate Maximus, then you're fine. Then I played Phantom Knights. Game 1 I lost, because he had the Imperm for my Winder, and could just go off and OTK me with Arc Rebellion. Then games 2 and 3 I won. Games 2 I won because I had the call by for his Droll, so could go off there, and game 3 was a lot longer and grindier, but in the end he had a copy. He tried to go into Dragoon, and fortunately he'd discarded his Red Dark Magician for Torn Scales effect, so couldn't make the Dragoon, and just scooped there. Then my final round I was against Swordsoul again. Game 1 was the game that I had all 3 meltdowns in my hand, so really could not play through anything once I got drolled. Game 2, my opponent had a very, very weird hand, and I managed to play through double evenly matched by locking the game up with Winder and Summon Limit. So despite the fact that I got evenly matched twice, I could just stick more onto the board than he could. And then game 3, unfortunately, again, I bricked. I was going to Nibiru him, but he had the cross out for my Nibiru, and then I just ended the game with 2 Gammas and 2 Nibirus in my hand, staring down a Baron and a Chi-Shao, and was unable to break that. So in all, I went 3-3. There's very minor changes that I would make to the deck list. My main problem I had was me piloting it. I'm not an expert at the deck by any means, but I learnt a lot about it. DPE is absolutely insane, and I think I went in thinking that there wouldn't be much Dragoon, and then obviously lost a couple of games to Dragoon, which is something to remember, so maybe I should consider putting some Kaijus in, or some other out to Dragoon. Other than that, other changes to the deck I would make would be, I would look at the hand trap suite a bit more, because I did not use Ash at all, and I did find myself frequently signing in Drolls. Similarly, I found myself always siding in Summon Limits for when I was going first, but again, because you can't guarantee you're going first, I think they're better off in the side. And I don't really know how well the deck fares against trap decks like Guru or Geist, because I did not play against any trap decks whilst I was there. But I hope you enjoyed that little run through of my tournament experience, and I haven't bored you all to death, and I will see you again soon. Bye.